The NASMARB schedule continues to the high banks of the DDT International Speedway with two 180-degree turns and the longest backstretch in the sport. DDT is regarded as one of the toughest tracks on the circuit, and today our drivers get their first taste of the action as we begin our qualifying for this week's reimagined 400 here. And you see the qualifying lineup on the screen is an inversion of the results from our last race last week at the Lightspeed 400, which means that we will have last week's winner, Lemon Drizel, who will go last. And we will begin with a couple of cars that failed to qualify last time, including Oak, who has not failed, or is not rather raced in one of our competitions, has failed both times. And the car right there, the 17 of Confetti, who failed to qualify last week, driving for Alabama. Through the first and second turn, spinning on the backstretch and unable to finish. Another bad run for the 17, driving for the Alabama Crimson Tide of Crimson Cruisers Racing, and they are going to have to go back to the drawing board again. It's a DNF to start the qualifying. Here is Oak for FFA Racing, with Marbles for Autism on the hood, and a big turn from the 48 there, but they're going to make it across the line. Looks like it will likely not be a fast run. Spinning back and forth on that mid-stretch between the first and second turns, but able to straighten it out. And Oak will finish this lap with a time of 4:46. And here is Nugget, who is 11th in the standings, as you see the driver profile on the right side of the screen. And Nugget again spins in between 1 and 2, goes across the line backwards, and slowly comes across the line with a time of 4.78 seconds. So the slowest of the three, well, I guess slowest of only the two to finish, and second out of 3 overall for Nugget in the 16 for Neurospecs Engineering and Nugget's Diner. Here is Woodpecker in the 43, 18th in the standings, despite qualifying for both of our previous races. 43 driving for Dave's Motors. Bouncing off the walls, right, left, right again, and failing to finish. As Woodpecker got through the second turn, and then just a disastrous... Oh, wow, it even started before that second turn. You can see no control in the car, and the 43 just bounces off the walls left and right, and fails to finish this one about a section of the track short. So our second DNF out of only 4 racers, as the 43 can't finish, and that'll bring up Spitzer in the 25. Spitzer, of course, has had some success winning the pole at the Spiral 360 to start the year. This is a good run so far, a little wild at the end, but coming across the line with the best time so far, a 4.11 for the 25 for WAF Bowling Alley and WAF Motorsports. A little bit rough at the end. You can see lost the back end of the car there. But still not an awful run. Here is the 24 of Jeff Marbin now for Hendrell Motorsports, and Dumarb on the hood. 17th in the championship standings so far. Pretty smooth, and now a little bit rough at the end, and a time that will be just better than Oak's. Moving into second right now is Jeff Marbin with a time of 4.43. At the end, the backstretch has really caused some problems. We mentioned it's the longest backstretch that any of these cars will face this season. And here is Streamer now, 14th in the standings. Streamer has a new paint scheme yet again for OB Racing. It's Beta Wolves that's on the hood today, and that looks like a strong run, very strong. Carried a lot of speed, and Streamer goes to the top of the leaderboard for the time being with a time of 3.67 seconds. That was a very smooth run for the 26. The first of 2 cars in the field for OB Racing. Here is Earl in the 33. Another Red Pandas Racing car. And this is a good run. Again, the backstretch causes problems, and the time will be third best at a 4.28. Behind Spitzer, but in front of Jeff Marbin. So now these cars starting to have a little more success actually getting through the course after 2 out of the first 4 failed. And so that will bring us to Prime in the number 8. Prime really struggling in between the two corners, picks up speed on the backstretch, comes across backwards, and a time of 4.42. It is 1/100th of a second faster than Jeff Marbin, and will take over fourth place currently, for the number 8 for Crazy 8 Motors. And that will now bring up the number 2 of Sal. Off and running. Like there's a little bit of a problem going into the first turn, out of the second turn. More issues and just barely unable to get across the line. It's our third DNF from this inside line. And that was not a smooth run for Sal by any stretch. Got close to finishing, but not able to be the case. That'll bring up Quillo now in the number 9 for the MSW podcast, Marble Sports Worldwide. Pretty smooth run. Going to come across the line in second. 4.08, just faster than Spitzer. Nobody's been able to come close to touching Streamer so far. But a smooth run and a solid run for Quillo on the first lap here, moving into second currently. And that will bring up Murakami in the 4 for Bladestar Motorsports. And this lap is another smooth one, but struggling at the end. Can they get across the line? The answer is no, I believe. Or yes, is it? That's incredibly close. Right now they're showing on the left side of the screen a 5.86, which would mean just barely getting across the line for Murakami. It's better than a DNF, but boy, was that close. And by far the slowest time now out of those to finish, as that will bring up Steve in the 89 Malbao machine for Malbao Racing. Oh, hard into the wall right off the start for Steve. Going to have to wheel this one around, slowing and unable to finish. Oh, that's a strange occurrence there for Steve, who went hard into the wall right off the bat. And then continued to make contact with that inside wall here, and it just looked like, oh wow, just lost any kind of speed. It's another DNF. Here is Neptune. With ASE on the hood of the 11. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 DNFs now. Spinning hard out of the first turn, coming across the line backwards is the 11 from Neptune with a 4.42. That's the same time as Prime. So they are 5th and 6th, or a tie for 5th, respectively, here between the 8 and the 11. And here is the 66 of Mozilla for Orange Racing. Made it into the finals once. And, of course, came close to that last week, making it into that next closest round. The 66 will have a little bit of a slow lap there, as that was out of the first turn, hard into the wall there you see on the replay. The time comes across at a 4.46, same as Oak. Before you get to that drop-off there from the last two, here's Electro, who has 7th place right now in the championship standings for the 93 for Texas Rollhouse. Ooh, not a good first turn, not a good second turn coming across the line, gaining speed, and it will be a 4.91 for Electro, second slowest to finish, but lucky to stay on the course and finish. That was a wild ride for the 93. So Streamer, who is the other OB Racing team member, is in the lead right now, and Electro is the second slowest to finish, as Winks, who won the pole last week for the Lightspeed 400, has a lot of speed but a little wild, and will come across the line with a time of 4.54, good enough for 10th currently out of the 17 to attempt to qualify. 13 have finished. Confetti, Woodpecker, Sal, and Steve have not. And here is Jack Tato. Remember the way that this qualifying works. One from the inside line, one from the outside line. One lap for every driver from each line. As a spin coming across backwards now is the 12 of Jack Tato. And he will finish with a time of 4.91 as well. Another tie There is now 3 different times that have multiple drivers at that. That's the 4.42 of Prime and Neptune, the 4.46 of Oak and Mozilla, and now 4.91 of Electro and Jack Tato. Here is Bloodstorm for Bladestar. Finished runner-up last week after failing to qualify in week 1 and unable to get through that second turn off the course. Bloodstorm is unable to finish this first lap, and it's going to be a very interesting second lap that's going to be run because we've got now 5 different drivers that have not finished this lap. Here is Lemon Drizel, who is our defending winner from the Lightspeed 400. After a slow start in week 1, came on with a lot of speed last time. This looks like a pretty good lap for Lemon Drizel, and it is. It's the second best lap, in fact, and it's only the second lap to run a sub 4-second time. 3.91 for Lemon Drizel, which will put him behind Streamer, who ran that 3.67. And there are the lines, or the times from that first line of qualifying here for the reimagined 400. 16th and back did not finish. Confetti, Woodpecker, Sal, Steve, and Bloodstorm. That's something that we've had some issues with a couple of those drivers in the past. Now they will go from the outside line, and Confetti will once again go first. See if they can finish it. Pretty strong lap. Ooh, that was quite a lap there. A 3.72. The time ends up being an 8.79 on what was the determination, what was given in terms of the time for those who didn't finish that first lap. So you average that with the 3.72. It's an average of 6.26 for Confetti. And another strong lap there turned in by Oak. That's a 3.48 for Oak and an average time of 3.97. And to the top of the boards is the 48, who is very, very likely to qualify for their first race. Only need to beat one more driver. And coming across backwards this time is Nugget. And Nugget will average out at a 4.51, so that officially puts Oak in the field for the reimagined 400. That is something that will be celebrated by the FFA racing team and ML Facts and Marbles for Autism, this group that worked hard through the first 2 weeks but could not get any kind of results. As the 43 of Woodpecker again struggling and unable to finish again. Oh, wow. That's an absolute killer for Woodpecker, who is not going to qualify almost certainly. Oh, man, there's just some kind of steering issue with the 43 that causes just a ton of hits to the wall, which slows down any kind of momentum. 7.58 the current time for Woodpecker as the 25 of Spitzer comes across, and that time will be a 3.83 and an average time of 3.97. That's a tie at the top of the board right now between Oak and the 25 of Spitzer. Oak ran a much faster lap here from this line as Jeff Marbin will take to the starting grid here, and a very imbalanced lap for Jeff Marbin. 4.54 on it, an average time of 4.49, which is third out of 6 now. You're going to notice Woodpecker here, who did not finish this lap, is going to continue to have their time changed. If you get slower laps, then their average lap will change as well, as here's the 26. Fast lap, I think. It's okay. A 3.88 for Streamer, but it's good enough still to go to the line or go to the top of the leaderboard with a 3.78 average time. And Streamer, who ran a very, very fast first lap, is on top right now as we get to Earl here. Looks like a good lap for Earl. And it is a 3.78 and an average time of 4.03, which will be fourth best. Confetti and Woodpecker right now, the two that are not in currently. Confetti trying to avoid missing a second consecutive race. Big spins again for Prime. This has been a theme. Prime comes across the line slow, but still good enough to finish. And right now, that's the slowest car that's in the field. A 4.96 on the lap, an average of 4.69, and 7th out of 9. But that's enough to still get in the field for Prime, who won the first race. As we move forward now, and this is going to be a pretty good lap here. And that is the 2 of Sal, who did not finish the first lap. That lap, though, is not fast enough to beat out Confetti. And so a time of 6.38 on the average will lock Confetti into this race with a time of 6.26. And that now brings up Quillo. Quillo spins. Trouble for the 9. Oh, boy, that's a big one. Quillo in some trouble, but it should be still enough, and it will be enough to lock Quillo into the field. Wow, that was a dangerous mistake by the 9 car. Average time now sits at 5.76. As the 4 of Murakami stands in, they slide, and they will not finish. Murakami, who had the slowest time out of the drivers to finish the first lap, does not finish this one and is now in danger of not making the race. That locks Sal into the field. A 6.38 is only 10th best, but Sal is in, as is Confetti. Quillo could potentially have their time change, but they're in. And Steve, there's something wrong with the 89, and Steve will not finish this one. Woodpecker and Steve both unable to finish, and again hard into the wall right out of the starting gate for the 89. There's something wrong with that machine, and they're going to have to take that one back to the garage and figure that out before our next race, as it looks as though there's going to be some severe issues for Steve. Even if you get to a tie-break situation where multiple drivers end up with that 2 consecutive DNFs, and they have to settle that some way as the 11 of Neptune stands in. And we'll put up a time that will average out to 5th best, 4.18. Streamer still on top by 0.2 of a second over Oak and Spitzer. But what I was seeing is, even if you get to that tiebreak situation, I don't think Steve is going to be able to finish this course. Here's the 66 of Mozilla, a little high off the first turn, but able to come across the line. And the 66 averages a time of 4.51, which is tied with Nugget for 7th and 8th. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers still. Bloodstorm is the only driver who did not finish the first lap that is still yet to go. Here's Electro spinning out of turn 1, coming out of turn 2 now and across the line, finishing with a time of 4.96, an average time of 4.94, over a second behind the leader, his teammate Streamer. But Electro locked into the field currently in 10th after a strong run last week. And that will bring up the 13 of Winks. Whoa. Looked like it came off the course for a minute there. Back onto the course goes the 13. And that time is a 4.76, an average of 4.65, and 9th place right now. Dropping Prime to 10th and dropping Electro out of the top 10. In this seeding, again, 18 get in out of the 20 that will attempt to qualify right now. Woodpecker in the 43, Steve in the 89 are in trouble. They will, that's not going to be a finish. Jack Tato, who struggled in the first lap, will not finish this one and will drop into 13th place. Ahead of Confetti and Sal and Murakami, but behind Quillo, who currently has the best time and the best position out of anybody who has failed to finish a lap. This is going to determine whether or not we get a tiebreak. If Bloodstorm can finish the lap they're in, if not, we're going to have some problems. Bloodstorm comes across the line and is in the field for the reimagined 400. And that time for Bloodstorm will equal out to a 6.67, which is last right now, and is basically going to end up, it will definitely be the last car to get in. At 17th will be 18th, as Lemon Drizel, defending race winner from last time out, has a good run going here and a strong finish for Drizel. It's a 3.7, and it is going to be second. Not enough to beat Streamer, who runs an average time of 0.03 of a second faster than the 3 of Lemon Drizel, who's really kicking it into form here. And so there are the finishing standings from our qualifier. Woodpecker is out for the first time, and for the first time as well, out of the race and unable to qualify is the 89 of Steve. Some severe issues for Steve. They're going to need to get figured out for Malbao Racing. The fastest laps from the pole, it's going to end up being 3 championship points added to the time of Streamer, a 3.78 average. They were also the fastest from the inside line, 3.67, and it was Oak that picks up a spot or a point from the outside line with that fastest time. Failing to qualify, the 89 of Steve and the 43 of Woodpecker. Neither finished a lap from either side. Group 1, the 1 seed of Streamer, and then a Mozilla and Bloodstorm. Group 2 will be Lemon Drizel, Winx, and Murakami. Group 3 is Oak, Nugget, and Sal. Group 4 is Spitzer, who won our first race, who was on the pole for our first race winner, Prime, and Confetti, who is back in a race after failing last week. Group 5 will be Earl, Electro, and Jack Tato. And our final grouping, Neptune, Jeff Marbin, and Quillo, who will try to avenge that poor second lap. So the field is now set for the third race of our season, the reimagined 400, right here at the DDT International Speedway. And until next time we get ready to race, you've been watching NASMARB on MSPN. I'm Rick O'Shea, and thanks for watching.